I like the idea. I like the thrust of where the defence plan is going, but it's got to be done quickly, which this plan is not going to be. Yeah. It's got to have an urgency and a Christmas and an elegant about it, which, like the England football team, we really haven't got.
Andy Burnham could have to raise taxes or cut spending in his first budget. He'll be left with a £5 billion hole in the nation's finances after Keir Starmer pushed through that defence investment plan. Edwina, we'll start with you. We had the defence expert on, Francis Tusa, his name is, and he says there's a thing that happens in government of a say-do gap. They say one thing and they do another, and often the two never come close to one another. What do you make of what Keir Starmer's done as he hands over power to Andy Burnham here?
Well, that say-do gap in the current government is worth an awful lot more than, I gather it's 4.7 billion, not 5. But I suspect what's happening here is that there's some very shrewd Treasury official who's good with his or her figures, who has basically left to Andy Burnham, to the new Prime Minister, when he gets in, a little note. And he's actually saying there is no money. Do you remember the note that Liam
We do,
Byrne
yeah,
left?
Liam, yeah, indeed.
And to say there is no money, in other words, don't be flamboyant, don't spread your promises around, because actually, if you're going to achieve anything, if you're going to be able to present anything concrete to the British public in 3 years' time when you come up for election, which you can't prevent, then you're going to have to actually spend some money, and you're going to have to find it from somewhere. I suspect that's what's going on. I mean, the reality, of course, is that a sum of this magnitude is the sweepings off the floor of the Treasury, isn't it? That's a tiny, tiny amount.
So why don't they just pay it, Edwina? I understand the point. We spend more than £1 trillion in government. This is £5 billion. Why don't they just spend it? I don't understand. It's not that much money. It's the defence of the realm. Why don't they just say, here's the money?
Because they've already spent it. The money's been spent on open-ended commitments like welfare. The money has been spent on all sorts of things that actually do not add to the wealth or welfare or well-being of the country, and they certainly don't add to the security of the nation at all. There's a whole host of things that need to be addressed very quickly. Getting faster justice would be another example. I looked at the DIP just very, very briefly, because there's a hell of a lot of the defence industry up here in the north. This is where we actually make the things like aeroplanes and frigates and so on. It's quite a good plan, and they have done a big swivel towards getting drones and AI and cyber security and so on. That's what really matters. The big mistake I think that somebody like Tony Blair made was to order aircraft carriers, and you think to yourself, but why? They're sitting ducks. You know, anybody with a well-aimed missile is going to take out an aircraft carrier, which is what the Ukrainians have been able to prove over in the Caspian and the Black Sea, rather, Black Sea. So yeah, I like the idea. I like the thrust of where the defence plan is going, but it's got to be done quickly, which this plan is not going to be. Yeah. It's got to have an urgency and a Christmas and an elegant about it, which, like the England football team, we really haven't got.
We'll get to that in a bit, Edwina. Giles, I want to talk to you about malign psychology. If you're leaving a job like Keir Starmer is this what happens when I'm always struck when people, I don't know if you ever worked in a place, Giles, when people have got a new job and they stick around for 3 months and they say, oh, don't worry, I'll still be as committed. I might even be a bit liberated because I don't have to see this through. And it never, ever works. I just wonder what you think of the psychology of Keir Starmer, putting out a plan, making kind of Burnham agree with it, and then say, oh, by the way, here's $5 billion you're going to have to find. Good luck.
I haven't experienced that. I'm speaking at a time when my editor on The Times, the food editor, Tony Turnbull, has been let go, which he didn't want, 3 years ahead of the retirement he'd have had to have had. He's a bit sad about it. He'll be replaced by somebody younger. He's stuck it out for another couple of months rather than just flouncing off. And he is still answering my emails with all the love and attention that he has.
Well done.
So I think it's when you have a grown-up, mature person doing a proper job, however they get treated by the company, they always they will keep on doing their job if they're proper heroes. One can look at that sort of psychodrama with Keir Starmer. I mean, he hasn't. You can't possibly really suggest that Keir Starmer unexpectedly unseated before his term, or unexpected by him, probably not by everyone else, has literally used the future safety of our children as a way to flip an up yours at Andy Burnham. I don't really believe that for a minute. And it's.
But might he have taken advantage of the fact that someone knew is coming? That basically he can't afford this defence investment plan he kept promising, and therefore he couldn't say if it was just his plan, there's $5 billion that I'll have to find somewhere else, because it would be him finding it. It's maybe made it easier for him that he's basically been able to push this on to the next chap along.
Well, it's not. No, I don't see that. His legacy. He hasn't got one, and he knows that. He's a realist. He's a pragmatist. That's it. He's just a comedy. He's another sort of lettuce who wilted, isn't he? I can't even remember her name now. Liz Truss. I mean, he's a comedy one. Everyone will just go, why is he getting his pension? Why is he standing there at our fee was nothing? He's just a muppet. His parliamentary party have only dumped him because they were afraid about their seats, not because of anything he's done or didn't do. They just don't want to get. They don't want to lose their seats at the next election. They've brought in another bloke. I can't see it like that. Because Starmer is not. He doesn't make flashy gestures. He makes dim gestures, and he bears the imprint of the last arse that sat on him. But I don't think he's the sort of guy who would drop that on him. He probably still would like to do the best for the country, and is a little bit baffled by why nobody will let him.
Edwina, you've been around when there's been transitions of power. Is everyone always acting in good faith, or can things, maybe as Giles says, it's not actually a deliberate attempt to poison pill anyone, but I do think it's hard to keep going in exactly the same way when you know it's not going to be you delivering the promises you're making.
Oh, I suspect they just kind of gave up at some point. This idea that everybody is malevolent is more in social media than in real life. That everyone is mildly incompetent is far more common. Yeah. And I suspect that, I mean, they may have missed it. Lawyers are not always that good at adding up, except when it comes to their bills, in my humble opinion. So it may well be that somebody just missed it. This is not uncommon either. The number of times that I've read papers and I've looked at it and I said, hang on a minute, it says 12 million in paragraph 47 and it says 15 million in paragraph 72. It can't be the same. And some civil servant or poor official in local government has gone, whoops, oh yes, you're quite right, Minister. But, this is probably not as important as the fact that we should have a defence investment plan that actually plans for the future. Let me give you one really dire warning, because I think the Russian economy is on the point of collapse, and that could mean that Putin goes. If he is replaced with somebody as useless as the drunk Yeltsin, then Russia in a mess is a much, much bigger threat in a way. We face bigger threats in future, not smaller ones. And the idea that actually that lovely peace dividend that we've had over the recent decades, that could continue in any sense, is wrong. We are going to have to be an awful lot more, many times more, not just a bit more, many times more vigilant in future.
Giles, go on. Sorry, no, go on.
Well, no, I was only going to say it comes back to a thing that I mentioned when we talked about this subject maybe 6 months ago, when the defence thing first started being mooted. Weirdly, out of nowhere, suddenly defence was the issue that everybody was talking about, and it had been something else before. We'd had kind of sort of woke issues and stuff before that, and before that we'd had the climate, and now we just seem to be on defence. And the question that I raised was, how bad is the risk? These questions about a few quid here or there from welfare. If we obviously you can't give us an actual metric, but if we face extermination by nuclear bomb or drones in our back gardens, we obviously have to spend all our money on everything, and it doesn't matter about welfare, and it doesn't matter about future planning with the environment, it doesn't matter about anything else. And if the risk is not all that large and it's all a bit hysterical, then we should just go back to the status quo. We're just stuck in this thing of not really know, is it the end of the world or not, and if so, how much will it cost?
Well, Giles, actually, that was weirdly my question to you. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like, okay, now things are really stepping up a gear? When I look across the world, maybe we do need to worry. Go on.
I genuinely think it is. It's just the hysteria of the news cycle, and I'm not having a go at us, the media, or it is the way. It is just the thing that people are interested in. It was trans issues. It consumed the world. Is it racist? Consumed everybody. The greed. Everyone was a vegan in 2020. Now nobody's a vegan.
But don't you think, Giles, when you look across the conflicts like in Iran, when you look at what's happening in Ukraine, you know, a European war, when you look at Russia, and also, you know, these things are happening here too, just in a different way. People often call it the grey zone, but we're talking about cyber attacks. We're talking about Russian warships heading up the channel. We're talking about, you know, intercepting those vessels, the shadow fleet, which has an influence on our energy market. Do you not feel touched by those things? You still don't see them?
Touched, but I'm 56 and I spent my early teens just unable to sleep from the age of 12 to about 15 because I thought that there was going to be a nuclear war and we were all going to die, and it's what everyone thought, and it's where we lived. And when they talk about the shadow of the mushroom cloud, I think it's actually a Queen song that comes from, but that was just, it was real, and we came out of it, and there was a little bit of end of history, and then but on the 9/11 I was in the Times office standing there with everyone. I was actually out for lunch, but when I got back from lunch I stood in the
Did you stay out at lunch, Giles?
I was at a restaurant in Canary Wharf, a Japanese place called Ubon, in a basement with the then editor of the Sunday Times Style section, and there was no reception, and it was just brick phones.
God.
Came out 48 messages, all from my hysterical girlfriend about, am I okay? I go, yes, it was New York, this is London. Anyway, but I went back to the office and I stood there, and my daily diary column that was stood down for a month because this was no time for making jokes, the world's going to end. And it really was inception, and I was already 31 by then. It's just, and now, and the big danger was the Arabs and the Muslims, and so we're all going to go and just kill random ones in different countries. And now we're just in the cycle back on defense. I'm not more afraid of China. I'm not more afraid of Russia. But just suddenly we've decided that we, Britain, in this new cycle, have to devote a huge amount of money from the budget from the national budget to show how serious we are about this threat. And I promise you come back to me in a year, 2 years, unless we're all dead, and it won't be talked about anymore. It won't be talked about anymore.
You won't be laughing then, Giles, when you're all dead.
No, other side of your faces.
Edwina, go on.
I was just going to say, you may well have a point about how these are kind of fashionable memes at one time or another. That doesn't mean that the threat is not a true one. It's like, was it Woody Allen who said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. There's a real threat there. And we have made promises. We have made promises that are supported across the political spectrum to stand up to whatever the threat is. And you bear in mind that, you know, Russia is spending a reported 40% of their GDP on warfare at the moment. During the Second World War, we got up to about 60% of GDP was being spent on warfare in one way or another because the threat of invasion was real.
You're really right. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't worry about it. You're absolutely right. And what we can't quite do is measure it. It's easier for you and I, or easier for you and me, sorry. It's easier for you and me, Edwina, on this because we are right-wing. We are centre-right. We don't really believe in all this welfare spending. We know exactly where we would get the money from to spend on defence, to defend our shores. But the centre and the centre-left, who are all, they can't, what are they going to do? They have to spend all this money on benefit scroungers. So they haven't got anywhere to get it from. So until we have a right-wing government, it's never going to happen.
But we could also add just one thing, that, you know, Labour governments in the past have got their heads around this, and Labour members have been loyal and gone for volunteering and conscription, all that sort of stuff. So it's not just one party, it's not just one wing. But if you are weak, you invite trouble from a strong aggressor. If you are strong, they'll leave you alone.
Yeah. My top fact about Napoleonic Wars, income tax was invented as a temporary measure because of the cost of the Napoleonic Wars, and it has remained as a part of British life.
Very rarely remove a tax once it's been introduced.
for the last 300 years.